Friends, if we don't record it, tomorrow there will be a big thing on social media saying the Borough Council's hiding something because they didn't record the meeting. You know as well as I do that would happen. We're good?
We're good.
All right. No problem. I'd like to call to order the September 26, 2023 Columbia Borough Council meeting. Could I have a roll call, please?
Council President Zink.
Here.
Councilperson Kaufman.
Here.
Councilperson Stahl.
Here.
Councilperson Fisher.
Here.
Councilperson Price.
Here.
Councilperson Littner.
Here.
Councilperson Burghardt.
Here.
Mayor Lutz.
Here.
All right. Would anybody like to offer an invocation? All right. If you would like, please rise for a moment of silence. And Mark, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Announcement of executive and information sessions. There were none. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda needed? I'm not aware of anything. No. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comment, non-agenda items only. The first sign-up we have is Justin Stoltzfus.
I'll just sign the attendance sheet.
Oh, okay.
Good.
All right. The first sign-up then we have is Ben Otterbein.
Hello.
Go to the
Go here.
yeah the podium, speaking to the mic.
Thank you.
Otherwise, the recording doesn't catch the sound. So.
Absolutely. Hello, my name's Ben Otterbein. I live at 123 North 8th Street. I'm speaking on behalf of some concerns we have regarding the property at 801 Walnut Street. Giving a brief synopsis of what's been going on with the property, in November of 2021, Q&P Investment Group, LLC, purchased the property that was a single-family residence. Not long after, in the early spring, summer of 2022, they removed their brick sidewalk without obtaining a borough permit and left the residents in the 800th block without a sidewalk for approximately 1 year. Upon questioning the borough, they stated they were not able to find anybody to replace the sidewalk due to COVID and the winter. From there, the property continued to fall into disrepair and disarray. Only being mowed once or twice, the sidewalk piled up with trash. They started to renovate the house. They were found to be putting in a multi-unit rental, which they were not permitted for, and construction ceased, and the investment group appeared to lose interest in the property. We continued to ask what was going on with the sidewalk situation, as we had none, up until September of this month. We came home, and the sidewalk was replaced, and 35 feet of curb was depressed to make way for a driveway, which is the entire length of the yard, which used to be a yard and is now clearly prepped for a, as one would call it, maybe a parking lot or a residential parking space. The workers on the property were clear that they were putting in the parking needed for a multi-family / large family residential rental unit, which is not allowed on the 800 block of Walnut. I've had some great communication with Ms. Sino on this, and she assures me they're not allowed these permits, and they verbally committed to them, but this project didn't go through the Planning Commission. It was granted under a residential permit, which created a lot of shock to the residents on the block. I emailed these photos to Mr. Stivers, and we have a few questions and concerns with residents on that block. Namely, 800 block of Walnut does not have any stormwater runoff. This is a large impervious surface we're putting in there right parallel to that street. Also, parking for the residents has been an issue on that block, and we took out 35 feet of curb right now, so we're already down street parking. We're also worried about how what clearly looks to be a multifamily rental by all accord, dealing with a rental company that has not been forthcoming with the borough thus far, which at best will be a large family in the guise of a multifamily. Why are we going forward with the permitting process for this in a residential block? As this rental company has already shown they cannot be good stewards of the community, why are we letting them come into the community? These are some direct questions I have for the council. Why we're letting this happen when we have the ability to stop it now? And the company has already shown they will not abide by the rules of the borough, will do what they want and circumvent rules to get what they want. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just address a few of those questions because I had the same questions. The issue is, first of all, we can't dictate who purchases property. So to say, why are we letting them in? We can't not allow them to buy property. That's, that can't happen. I also asked a question about removing the curb and removing parking. It's something that we are kicking around and thinking about for future stuff. We have alerted anyone that will need to go in there to do inspections that it is only supposed to be a 1 unit. There are certain things to look for in a 2 unit. It'll be obvious when we go in there to do the rental inspection if it's a 2 unit, and they will not be granted their permits, and they will be made to put it back to a 1 unit property. As far as, our ordinance requires 2 off-street parking spaces for every rental unit, so they would only need 2. If they're choosing to put in more than 2 spaces, that's on them. I have a single family home, mine's a single family, and I have 3 off-street parking spaces, just because at the time my house had 3 vehicles. So to say there would only be 2 vehicles, maybe they're accounting for, using extra vehicles. Yes, I agree with the suspect, but giving the benefit of the doubt, that's what you have to think about. So, those are just a few of the answers, but we are on top of it. We are looking at, and it will be, if it does not comply with the permit that they obtained, they will be made to go back and make it back the way it would comply with the permits they were issued.
Matt,
yes.
Real quick for the end of that. I guess some follow-up questions real quick from this analysis. So at what point is a rental company, at what point have so many code violations forfeited their right to continue operating? Because at some point they just do whatever they want. And this property already has multiple violations against it. Why do we continue to let them operate when they continue to rack up violations pre-occupancy? They've already shown they can't do good community messages.
I understand what you're saying for sure. Are those outstanding code violations do we know? No, so they've all been remedied. If they have been, again, you can't stop someone if they're gonna violate codes, if they're gonna do that sort of thing. If they take care of it, then they kind of go back to square one. And you can't just say, and our rental licensing is based upon each property. So if a company owns 10 properties in the borough, they could lose their rental license for 1, but still have it for the 9 other ones. And just having multiple code violations, if they fix them, is not grounds for revoking that rental license.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no instance where a pattern or repetition or period of time would default them to lose their license. They could just continue to pay them in perpetuity.
Well, at this point, they don't have a rental license because they're not renting it out. So at this point, it is just another property owner. So it's just like any other property owner that would continue to have code violations.
So much.
Once there's multiple violations of the same kind, we do have, a tiered system for fines.
Yeah, and eventually, if they did have enough code violations and we got a large judgment against them, the borough could execute and take that house to sheriff's sale. That is very far down the line, right? If they, not only they have to pay the fine, but they've got to fix what's wrong. So if they're doing that, again, it's not great when you have to go out to the same property over and over and over again and tell someone to do something. But that's kind of the way, unfortunately, that the borough code and some of the other codes that we have to abide by are written.
Okay, thank you. And for my last question, how did this not go to the planning process? Because no residents on the block were aware of the major change that was coming in here on behalf of an LLC.
It did not rise to the threshold that requires them to go to the planning commission and do a site plan for this.
Right.
This is an amendment to an existing lot. The state law of the municipality's planning code says when something becomes a land development plan, when it's just simply a development of a lot. So it did not rise to that per state law. Two other things quickly after you made the comments, is to be clear, stormwater management, they did submit for a small stormwater management plan, which was reviewed by the borough engineer. They are increasing impervious area, but we have a process and procedures for these smaller increases. So they did follow all the procedures with regards to the new parking area and the expansion of the lot. The other thing is, when all these questions came up, I did pull out the approved building permit plan set and look at it myself. There's only one kitchen. They've enlarged the kitchen. There's only one kitchen. There's several bathrooms. So it is being set up as a single-family home right now. We hear your concerns, but I've asked our building code inspector, we have a third-party inspector, when he's out there, if you see any signs of them beginning to convert this to a multi-unit, let us know. But as of today, it is still being set up as a single-family home.
We do appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody's right to build, but that entire area has just been taken away from all the residents on the block. The entirety of a curb was depressed without any public comment. I just find that slightly odd.
I don't disagree, but it's not illegal.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate your time, sir.
Sure.
If I may, thank you for contacting me. I think most of what I talked with our planning director, Sharon Cino, about with your concerns has been answered here tonight. Although I will say, I do have some concerns and there's some more information that I would like to get on this whole thing, but I think what you heard here tonight, you can be assured that it's going to remain a single family, maybe rental dwelling. And if there's any inkling that it's going to be more family, we'll be on it as quickly as we can. But there are a couple questions that still need to be asked, and we'll have a conversation about them. But I'm glad Mark talked about the stormwater because you mentioned that, and also this, what was done there didn't meet the threshold for the planning. Also, our borough engineer was out there and approved the curb and the sidewalk that they put in. So it is to the borough's code standards. While we don't like some things, sometimes we have to go along with it. We got to remember, bottom line, property owners do have some rights. But there's some questions I still need to ask and get some answers.
I do agree, and I appreciate your time on the issue and the council's time on the issue and continuing to look at it going forward. Thank you.
And I recognize it was more than 5 minutes, but I think that was valuable. I think everyone agreed that was a valuable conversation. And our next sign up is Frank Dowker. Cool.
So much for 5 minutes. Frank Alfred, good evening, everybody. We had a much needed rain, and we're glad for that. Question, the land down at the farm that is going to be turned into reserve, whatever happened with that? I must have missed that meeting, whatever took place with that.
The subdivision plan has been approved by the planning commission. Evan is getting the deeds together. We'll get that recorded. As soon as it's recorded and the subdivision plan is recorded, that lot will be put up for sale.
It's not already priced?
We have an appraised value that was done already. We had an appraisal done on it, yes.
Do we have an offer that these people want to turn it into reserve?
I've talked to some people. There are some people interested in purchasing it, but it's going to be put out for auction so that anyone can buy it.
Okay, but the gentleman that wanted to turn it reserve, I only got 5 minutes, so I gotta keep going here. The deferred retirement option plan, I understand there's 2 officers going to get involved in that. Is there a winner and is there a loser in that plan?
No.
No.
Nobody wins, nobody loses?
No.
Okay, and my third one probably deals
Well,
with.
I would say the borough wins because we keep officers longer from retiring.
And the officers win. I mean, it
Right,
fits
it's
them,
a
so
win-win.
It's a win-win, I would say.
Yeah, I don't understand it, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, I'd say it's a win-win.
Yeah, fair way to say.
Yeah, okay, and my third question is probably for the police department and safety. If the borough encounters a deal with an illegal, undocumented border people, what's the policy of the borough, the patrol officers? What do they do in a case like that?
We will contact immigration.
But what does the borough do to do that? They're sworn to uphold the law. So do they?
That's a federal thing, so we have to contact the proper authorities, and whatever they decide to do, that's what they'll do. They'll go into custody of the feds.
Okay, and if it gets to a point where the illegal, undocumented border people come to the borough, and believe me, they're coming. They'll fill up Lancaster first, and then Columbia's going to be next. How many can Columbia take?
Frank, I think that's a number that we don't know.
Right.
Are we doing anything?
We would obviously look at how they end up. How do I want to say this? Are they on the street, or are they being housed somewhere and whatever have you? But we would be looking at, are they following the law as far as other laws other than just immigration?
Right.
But if they're here illegally,
If they're here illegally and we find that they are, they'll be turned over to the National Immigration Service.
okay.
But, I mean, really, the only way we would know that is if they were breaking the law, if they were
Right.
breaking some
Yeah,
other
right,
law.
we cannot go up and say, are
Show
you a
your
citizen of the United
Yeah.
States or not? We can't do that.
For
But if they're
instance-
picked up for some offense and we find out that they're here illegal, then we would turn them over to the immigration.
Yeah, for instance, if a patrolman pulled them over, no documentation whatsoever, no license, you've got something to go on. I feel there's people here already, and
I won't disagree with you.
you don't have no way of knowing that, but what I see, believe me, it's sure looking that way, and I would hope that there's something we can do to maybe curb this as the committee will look. I figured Lancaster's gonna fill up first, and then the overflow will come from you.
One thing we're talking about right now, Frank, and maybe the tip-off, I'll say. The weather's changing, it's getting cooler, and the chief and I and others are working with the shelter. If these folks are seeking shelter and they wind up at the shelter, and we get that information, then we'll deal with them then. That could be the first place they end up.
Okay.
Because I don't see I don't see, unless there's assistance, I don't see any means of them gaining housing here.
Okay, I like growing up, so the borough has.
It's a good point, Frank. It's a good point, one we have to watch.
It's coming.
Yes.
It's not over here.
All right, thank you. Anyone that did not sign up that wanted to make a non-agenda item? Next, we have minutes for approval. Could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for August 22nd, 2023?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for August 22nd, 2023. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Next, I have a motion to approve the Borough Council work session minutes from September 5th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council work session minutes for September 5th, 2023. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And could I have a motion to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for September 12th, 2023?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the Borough Council meeting minutes for September 12th, 2023. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Alright. Presentation and acceptance of reports. I'd like to acknowledge the finance reports for August 2023. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on the finance reports? None? Alright. Safety marketing.
Yeah. I have nothing for marketing, but I do have the police report for August 2023 in the packet.
May I ask a question about the police report, Todd?
You may.
And I'm sorry, the chief isn't here, so he
may
can't
not be able to
answer it.
answer it. It's fine.
Okay. I was just wondering, maybe the mayor can answer it. Under the police report monthly offenses, it says assault and in parentheses firearm, and there's 5 listed to date. Is that the same as the shots fired incidents, or is that different?
That's different.
Okay, because I didn't see the other one listed at all, so, okay, thank you.
You know, you've got to remember, Sharon, the police report is on actions taken. So if there was no arrest made,
Okay, so,
you follow me?
right, okay. Thank you.
All right, and legislation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm writing down some of what you said. Okay. The legislation, the active legislation priority list is in your packet, and if there are any questions, I will try to answer them. If I can't, I will ask someone else. Any questions on that? I think some will be resolved tonight, or at least moving forward if the comp plan's approved. Is that correct? Because there was a few on here that are on hold, waiting for that. All right. Thank you.
There are no presentations. Mayor Lutz.
Okay, yeah, Chief Brommer's off today. Probably getting in trouble for this, but he's celebrating his birthday, it's time to taking him out for dinner tonight. So we gave him the night off. I have one thing that I'd like to talk about to you and to the public. Last week, we received a complaint about a neighbor, from a neighbor about their neighboring property. And it had to do with dogs. And subsequently, the chief and the police department, members of the police department, Paula and folks from the codes, the dog enforcement officer, one of our borough constables, the drug task force, all descended upon this property. Now we had a few months back had issues with that property, and ordered that property to be cleaned up, and it was cleaned up. But here we go again. And thanks to the tip from the neighbor, or I should say the complaint from the neighbor, we were able to muster a group together and get up there and get into that property. As a result, there were several arrests made, several citations. I wish Paul was here tonight because I don't know if you know, Mark, or not. They were given a period of time to clean the property up or it would be condemned. I can't positively say if it was condemned or not. It was condemned. There was a person on the property that had an outstanding warrant. They were picked up. There was a lot of work done, and I want to thank our codes department, our police department, our constable, drug task force, and obviously the dog enforcement officer. And as a result of this, as I said, there were some citations and arrests made, and this investigation is continuing into that and some other things, and more than likely there will be some subsequent arrests and citations that will follow. It's an ongoing investigation. That's all I have. But it just goes to show you that if people see or hear something in their neighborhood that's not right, and it was a result of the dog and the puppies, and she called, the neighbor called. But if we don't know about that, sometimes when it's in a house, you don't see any evidence, but neighbors may hear it. We can't do anything about it, but if people speak up, we can clean up these neighborhoods. We can solve some of these problems. So that was a good, I'll say, volunteer effort. Congratulations, thanks to everybody on that. And I'm sure the neighbors are rather happy that we got on that property again. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right. Oh, whoops. Okay, I'm going to close the regular meeting at 7. Wait, I do have to close, right?
You do, yes.
Because it says public meeting, but it's actually here, I think,
Public
right?
hearing, yep.
Right, so I'm going to close the regular meeting at 7:30 p.m. and we are entering the public hearing for adoption of the borough's new comprehensive plan at 7:30 p.m. All right, so we're in the public hearing. I believe this is Sharon's. The Sharon's party.
So just to give you some background, on June 9th, Borough Council approved sending 2040 plan, Columbia 2040 plans to the County Planning Department, the neighboring municipalities, the school district, Lancaster Intermunicipal Committee for a 45-day review period. And on September 11th, most recently the County Planning Commission provided a recommendation of approval. So we have a resolution 2023-26 that we would like to pass approving the adoption of the Columbia 2040 new comp plan. And I just want to say thank you to council, also to the ad hoc committee, to Jessica Fieldhouse, who's not here tonight, C.S. Davidson, who helped support this rewrite and guide the ad hoc committee, our planning commission, and also Barb Fisher for chairing the ad hoc.
Are there any questions or comments from council on this?
Yeah, Madam President, if I may, I saw the comprehensive plan. My question is it going to be just online? Are there going to be any hard copies printed?
We have a hard copy. We've asked Jess to give us a handful of hard copies. We'll have one in here.
Okay, so there'll be one here.
Access, we'll keep one in here.
Thank you. Was an executive summary created?
It was talked about.
Yeah, we had actually, I think 2 public meetings on it, didn't we?
No, an executive summary.
No, an executive summary. It's like a Reader's Digest condensed book.
Well, we can always have one put together, and I know we have
a lot of comp plans that I've been involved with. and read and all over the years, there was always an executive summary on smaller paper that basically told you what was in, not in detail, but basically what was in. So that if you had questions, you could open that up and find out and read a little bit of it. And if it tweaked your curiosity, then you can go back to the main document and read it further in text. You know what I'm talking about.
We can have one put together. I think it's a great informational piece. I agree.
Yeah,
We'll give it out to the public.
I know the last time we did comp plan here, we had executive summaries and we had them out on the kiosk and folks picked them up. I think they're valuable. That's a question. Let me say to Barb and Sharon and everybody involved in that, thank you very much. I was involved in a rewrite of the current comp plan, and that went on for a year. Lori was part of that. We worked on that for a year, so I know what you guys went through doing that, and the amount of meetings and the discussions and everything you all had. So that's a lot of work, and that's not easy work. So on my behalf, thank you all for what you've done there. That's monumental.
And there were a lot of community members that also showed up.
Yeah, I won't even begin to say thank you to everybody, because I know there were a lot of folks involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're in the hearing, are there any questions, comments, or concerns from council? Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for the record from the audience?
I just want to say.
Yes, Frank.
Frank Telfer. How many years are we looking ahead for this plan?
15, 20 years ahead.
15, 20 years.
Go through the document. There's a part 1, part 2. We had a presentation. I think you listened to that presentation by Jess. Part 1 includes all the data analysis, the compendium. Part 2 talks about the action.
Was there a lot of changes compared to the old comp plan?
Well, compared to the original, we had shared with everyone that we had moved forward at least 60% mark, I believe, was accomplished from the 1995 comp plan in terms of action strategies, action items that were completed.
Is there anything that stands out to you that maybe would concern a lot of the citizens? Nothing, really?
This document will be our guiding, this will be our policy document, so we all have to, get familiar with it and, continue to look through it as we look ahead and see where we want to see Columbia Borough in the next 15, 20 years.
I think Leo asked a question. Is there going to be a printout of this?
We have it on our website. We have it here if you want to take a look at it. And I can also, we can also prepare a short executive summary that we can hand out.
Yeah, I'm not good at going to the website, I guess. I don't use it.
Or come on in and we can share it with you.
Thank you.
Frank, I would just like to say that the biggest difference between the two comp plans is that this is an implementable comprehensive plan. Any citizen can go look at this comprehensive plan, go through the steps that's going to make sense to them, and they're going to get excited about it. Anybody looking to relocate into Columbia who is able to see our plans for up until 2040 is going to also be excited about where this place is going. And it's also something that any citizen can look at it and say, I want to be a part of this part of the plan, and I'm going to do what I can to see that happens. It's like a corporate event, everybody can get involved in this. Whereas before the comprehensive plan, when I first read it, I had no idea what it said. So it's understandable, it's implementable like it says, and C.S. Davison did an excellent job.
is there any changes that you've seen that you was glad that it was changed?
I think we've always been progressing and always been moving forward, and we've always had forward-thinking people involved in the ongoing the elevation of Columbia. So nothing specifically stands out except that we are moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
So Bart, I'll jump on the end of that. I see a few big things in this that are unique and different to the previous plan. One, in the chapter called A Place Called Home, we are focusing on the importance of neighborhoods and the power of neighbors helping neighbors and neighbors coming together. I've seen that work in so many other communities where that's becomes a focus, where it's not just all about, you know, what government does or what these major organizations and everything do. It's just, what can we do for each other? How can we help? How can we reach out? I think an early implementation of that was the Adopt a Block program. We had recommended it in the plan before it even got adopted, but it's already in place now. You know, so neighbors taking responsibility for their community. We focus on attracting more people to downtown. Since I got here back in 2020, one of the things that we talked about initially was the 100,000+ people who use the rail trail annually, the close to 200,000 people a year who come and visit the Turkey Hill Experience. We want to get them from the fringe downtown. How do we attract them downtown? How do we get them in downtown? There's a focus on improving our own public spaces. We've already started this effort. One of the things I want to talk about tonight was the check that was just received for the Jansen Park upgrades. We have another grant that's been awarded for Maple Park. We are looking at getting funding to do upgrades to the River Park. So focusing on our public spaces and how do we improve them, I think is a big thing. But the biggest thing, and having been in the planning world for, I don't want to embarrass myself, Mayor, so I'm embarrassing you too, we go back way too long, is that a lot of times in the past, you wrote a plan that met the state requirements. You talked about transportation, you talked about housing, you talked about things, you have all your chapters in there. You met the criteria and you adopt it, you put it on the shelf, and you pull it out now and then if you really want to justify a grant. We don't want to do that. The idea behind this plan is to truly be a guide to drive policy going forward. We want to make changes here in this community. We want this to be a positive document that drives change. The part of this, and this is where I have been for many years now, is that in order to do that, we have to revisit this every so many years. You have to look at what's been completed, what's been done, what's changed in technology, what's changed in demographics, what's changed in the community, that we need to look and update this. So it can't just be a 20-year document, Frank. It has to be a 2-year document that we look at every 2-3 years and we update it and see where are we now, where are we going. So those are the big things, and Barb, I give you a lot of credit for when you jumped in and took over, when Mary Vaughn told you to...
to be chair of this. I mean, I think the direction we've gone and the things that we have in this document truly reflect, I think, great community outreach and truly reflect right now where we as a community see value and purpose. So I think it's a great document. I'm looking forward to using it.
Any last questions, comments, or concerns?
I would just like to make one last comment. Could we officially, I don't know if C.S. Davidson would do it or someone else, just petition them to create for us an executive summary?
Yeah, we'll take care of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Seeing nothing further, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:42 p.m. We are re-entering the regular Borough Council meeting at 7:42 p.m. And with that, do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-26 to adopt the Columbia 2040 Comprehensive Plan?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilperson Fisher, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to adopt Resolution 2023, adopting Columbia 2040, the comprehensive plan. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns that were not stated in the hearing? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilperson Fisher, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to adopt Resolution 2023-26, adopting Columbia 2040, the borough's new comprehensive plan. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, yay.
Thank
I think it was like 5 minutes after the planning commission meeting last week, I emailed Mary. Or no, actually it was well, yeah, I emailed her after, but before, the night before the meeting, I emailed her and said it's on, and I sent her the documents from planning commission recommending approval and everything. So
It's
next.
really a big thing.
It is.
I mean, don't take this lightly. That's a real big accomplishment.
No, and honestly, you know, being at the County Planning Commission, I can honestly say there have been several now that have come through for us to approve. And there have been some that the list of recommendations for change is really long. There were some that were flat out recommend not adopting until all of these changes are made. Ours was approved with no recommendations for change. So that is a testament there and of itself. Next, could I have a motion to approve the 2024 minimum municipal obligation totaling $490,091.00 to $399,535 to the Uniform Police Pension Plan and $90,556 to the non-uniform pension plan.
Moved. Second.
A motion by Councilperson Burgard, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the 2024 minimum municipal obligation. I'll save the rest of it for the next thing. This is the numbers that we get from our actuary that tells us how much we have to contribute next year into the pension plans for both the uniform and the non-uniform union.
And I just want to add that we get partial state funding for the police side of it. And it's anywhere, like, I just looked at the numbers last year, what the funding we're getting pays for about 40% of it. This year is less because of some of the officers that have went into the drop. So this year is going to be less, and so it all kind of balances out. It's anywhere from 1/3 to half that the state covers of the police portion of it. So.
And when they go into the drop, we stop putting
Correct.
their money, we stop contributing to the pension.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, so this is standard, we do this every year, but this goes into our budget, so we have to approve this line item separate. Questions, comments, or concerns? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Burgard, second by Councilperson Stahl, to approve the 2024 minimum municipal obligation totaling $490,091, with $399,535 going to the uniform pension plan and $90,556 going to the non-uniform pension plan. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, do I have a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 941 to amend the borough's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 186, Streets and Sidewalks, by adding a new Article 7, Sidewalk Cafe?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl. To authorize staff to advertise ordinance 941. Their questions, comments, or concerns? Looks like everything like the one small change we made, I think it's all in there.
That's in there. We went over all the language. We just made some changes to say that you must be seated when you're outside, that the total capacity of the building doesn't change with the outdoor cafes. We're not adding additional 20, 30 people to it. So that addressed the issue that Eric brought up last time, of saying, hey, if people are outside, do we have to be seated? Can you be standing? Can you be at a bar? So that addressed those questions.
But they don't have to be seated.
They don't have to be seated, that's my whole point.
Oh, I thought you said they have to be seated.
No, the code said they had to be seated,
Yeah.
we took that out, if I said it wrong. We addressed that
Yeah, I was
part.
really confused, I'm like, no, wait a minute, we said they didn't have to be seated.
Right.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? It's not really about the ordinance, but I'm curious, under C1, why did you strike through the A, B, C, D, and E?
That's,
It's probably being added, maybe that line just needs to be below.
no, I think it's just an error, we'll make sure the formatting's right. Those letters are supposed to stay, I don't know why they got struck out. That all stays in. Thanks, good catch.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? No? All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stoll, to authorize staff to advertise ordinance 941 to amend the borough's code of ordinances, chapter 186, streets and sidewalks, by adding a new article 7, sidewalk cafe. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next, could I have a motion to authorize the bill payments?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the bill payments. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Seeing none, I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl, to authorize the bill payments. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? For new business, we have 2 drop applications, one for Officer Dan Bell and one for Sergeant Adam Miller. We've looked at a couple of these now. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I would like to take action on these if we can.
Yeah, I think we should be able to do that. I mean, we've seen these before. One thing I did want to note, I don't know if anyone else was confused, in the executive brief for Dan Bell, it actually refers to him at one point as Officer Miller. That's just because things were copied and pasted, so it's Bell. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I just have like a general question. Once they go into the job, how long afterwards before 3 years?
Well, no, they don't have to stay.
Up to 3 years.
Yes, up to 3 years. I mean, they can leave at any time.
I would just like to thank Officer Dan Bell and Sergeant Adam Miller for their service. I've gotten to know both of them. I have an interesting story about Dan Bell. Many years ago, he pulled me over for speeding with 462, and he didn't know who I was. Adam. Not Adam Miller, but you know, he called me fair and square, and he said, "I'm going to let you go with a warning, Mr. Bernard." And I sent him a thank you note. But it's a good crew of officers over there, and I want to just say publicly how much I appreciate him and Sergeant Adam Miller. I've gotten to know him here too. Good folks. I'm glad to see that they're entering the job and not just leaving. So.
I would say the same thing. I don't know Officer Miller as well, but we've had some experience with some interaction with Dan Bell, and he was excellent. So I really hate to see him leave. I do have one question though. You said they can leave at any time. I was thinking they had to stay 12 months
Is that not true? Okay, then I didn't understand.
It's technically a minimum of 1 year with a maximum of 3 years.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what the agreement says.
Minimum of 1 year.
Yeah.
See, I thought.
I don't know if that's enforceable, that we could hold them to that, but that's
Right.
what the agreement is, yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard that somewhere along the line, and I
Yeah, I was
mixed
stuck
up when
on-
she said
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was
so-
stuck when hearing Mike Miller say that's not enforceable.
Okay. Thanks.
There was a question asked earlier about, is this a win for the officers, a win for the borough, or what? And correctly, it was said this is a win-win. And part of the win for the borough and the police department is just what you just talked about. Minimum of 1 year, maximum 3 years. We have several new officers that have come on the force, may have several more new officers coming on the force to replace these guys. And both Officer Bell and Sergeant Miller, with their years of service and their expertise, and Dan is one of our field training officers and one of our firearms instructors and officers. So it's important that they just didn't up and say, I'm retiring in 2 weeks. That they stick around for a period of time to help us and groom and train the new officers coming on. So it's real important. So the drop, as you said, has benefits to both, but there are more than financial benefits to Columbia Borough to have them stick around and do some of this work.
Frank.
Heather, I'm trying to understand what you said when they talked about, you made a minimum municipal obligation. You said they wouldn't be paying no more with the drop program. Once they get in the drop program, refer to that. You had said something to one of the staff.
Yeah, we stop contributing to their pension when they enter the drop.
Oh, is that what you meant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, does anyone have an objection to taking action tonight on both of these? Could I have a motion to approve the drop application for Officer Dan Bell?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brevard, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to approve the drop application for Officer Dan Bell. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Could I have a motion to approve the drop application for Sergeant Adam Miller?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Brevard, second by Councilperson Kaufman, to approve the drop application for Sergeant Adam Miller. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Staff reports, comments, or announcements. Solicitor Gable.
Not too much tonight. You approved that sidewalk cafe, so we will get that advertised. We've also already advertised the handicap parking ordinance that we discussed, so I think probably October 10th we'll look at both of those. And then probably at the second meeting in October, we'll have an update on our collection efforts. So our third quarter collection efforts. So.
And at that time, I know there was one set of liens in particular that we were talking about taking action on. Because I don't want, that's going to run out soon.
Absolutely.
I don't want to miss out on that.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. We'll make sure that gets discussed.
Okay. Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Stivers.
Thank you. Sitting at home this weekend, watching the rain come down, and heard a great comment, and I don't hear this often.
One of the weather reporters was just talking about how beneficial the rain is and how nice it is, and you often hear people saying, oh, it's miserable weather, it's terrible weather. Well, I'm one of those weirdos that go out there and think, oh my gosh, this is wonderful weather. I'm so thankful it's raining. I love sitting inside, watching the rain and seeing everything going on. So it was very beneficial. We're still technically
behind a little bit in the rain. I know York County still has some water restrictions on, but it was a big help.
But just a reminder again, I know I said it last time too, we know big rain is coming, take a few minutes, go out there, check the inlets to your house if you have some, make sure they're open and cleaned out. If there's any bigger concern, call us, we'll come out and take care of everyone, make sure those inlets are all opened up and ready. Second thing I have tonight is we got a message today from PennDOT. The work on the US 30 barrier is starting, I believe it's next week. There's going to be lane restrictions at night. I think they start at 9 o'clock and go through 6 in the morning. So just be aware, be careful if you're going out that way, if you're going over the bridge. They're starting to repair the median, I say repair, upgrade the median barrier on that bridge in preparation for the 462 work that's coming. So just be extra careful when you're out there if you're going across the bridge at night. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Council members, Councilperson Stahl. Councilperson. Nothing.
So yeah, I got something real quick, just real quick.
Hey, that's fine.
The mayor and I were at the MAC Association's very first meeting when they were taking off. And we've seen over the last 3.5, 4 years through COVID, the MAC Association really take off. They do 4th Fridays and it's really nice, popular. Getting bigger and bigger every Friday, every 4th Friday. Last weekend they had the mac and cheese event down there. That place was packed. I got here at 6:07 and we wrapped the back door, the hallways around the thing, up one aisle, down another aisle, just to get in line. I didn't want to get in there, but we did, we made it. Mac and cheese was a little cold by then, but we made it. So, you know, it's really nice to see the MAC grow and become a force in Columbia. That makes me very happy. But one thing I did want to shout out to, and we don't really think of too much, is sod salvage, recycling. I watch their YouTube channels. They're not only seem like a very positive company to work for, but their employees are informative. When you think of a salvage yard or junkyard, you don't think of people that, but they get on there talk metal pricing and everything else. So, as a business in Columbia, I'm very appreciative of what they're doing for their employees.
Yeah, their dumpster talk is good.
Dumpster talk is good. Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, I spent some time last night with Penn State Health again. About 4 hours at the station and made a couple runs with them. I think last time I ran with them, I was sure to mention their professionalism. They're stellar folks. They're committed. Last night I experienced compassion. Wayne, the EMT, we had an elderly woman who had an issue and we took her to the hospital. And she was obviously, in a way, she was having a bad minute. Till we got to the hospital, Wayne was like a loving son. It was crazy. Just watched her calm down, and until she got in her bed at the hospital, she was smiling, and I was really impressed with the way not only do they render their care professionally, but they do it with empathy. Just want to call them out.
I want to say something here because since Todd didn't do it, I'm going to give a plug to TextMyGov. But I think there's some clarification that needs done because I cannot be the only one that was screwing it up. There's actually 2 numbers for the TextMyGov. One to opt in for the notifications, and there is another number to actually text to get information. So if you're looking to know when leaf pickup begins, or when yard waste pickup ends, or if you need a building permit to put up a fence, or anything else, you can text those questions to 717-415-4666. 5660. And you will get the response back that either it will direct you to the portion of our website that shows that that gives you that information. If you want just the notifications, that is a different number to text to say you want those notifications, which is right there. But yes, I felt clarification was needed because obviously I did not understand the instructions because I was texting the notification number to find out when leaf pickup begins because I was trying to tell people just text MyGov and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working. So that's what you do.
Heather, is that 24/7?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if it does come back and say, if you do get a response that says we did not find your keyword, an automatic message is generated to the people in the office so they can go in and make sure that that information is tagged properly on the website so that the information can be returned in your text. I just thought we should clarify that. I can fully admit when I didn't know. When I'm wrong. I kept telling Mark, I keep texting it tells me it doesn't find it. Why isn't it finding it? And then we discovered that it was my fault. So I figured I can't be the only one that was confused by that to share that. As Mark mentioned earlier, last week we were present at a check presentation from DCNR for the successful grant application to the Jansen Foundation to redo the Jansen Park Playground. It was a wonderful day. Glad to see that happening. Glad to see you, Lori Yike, again. She loves Columbia, so it's always nice to when she comes in because she's always bringing us good news, or mostly always bringing us good news. So that was good. And I think that's all I have for this evening. Announcement of next meeting at 7 p.m. on October 3rd, 2023. Council will hold a work session. This evening, we will be adjourning to executive session to discuss a personnel matter. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Kaufman, second by Councilperson Stahl to adjourn at 8:05 p.m. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we're adjourned. I have
Checks.
We have checks to sign. Yes, you do. I've got.
Hey, the October 3rd meeting's not on the website.
It's not.
Usually fairly